Some inheritances are debts. Some debts can only be paid by refusing to inherit them.
Yeah.
I really want you to just sit with that line for a second. Just think about the invisible baggage handed down in your own life.
Right.
Maybe it's, a family dynamic where everyone just constantly walks on eggshells,
Hmm.
or a toxic tradition at your workplace that everyone unquestioningly accepts as just, well, the way we do things here.
Yeah, the stuff we just drag around simply because the people before us dragged it around.
Exactly. And today's deep dive is really all about the mechanics of that baggage. We're getting into this incredibly poignant narrative titled Fallow.
It's such a good piece.
It really is. It follows the life of a woman named Wren.
Hmm.
And our mission today is to unpack how these cycles of generational harm actually operate, right under the surface.
And why telling the truth usually gets you labeled as the problem.
Right, right. And the radical power of just stepping completely out of the fight.
Yeah, it's a text that really stays with you. The author uses a multi-generational farm, the Aldern farm, as the setting, but I mean, this is a universal blueprint.
Oh, for sure.
You can map the power dynamics of this farm onto, like, a Fortune 500 company or a political system.
Or just a suburban dinner table.
Exactly. It's really a study in an entrenched trauma and the lengths a system will go to protect its own illusions.
So let's start where those illusions are first planted. Because Wren grows up on this land, worked by her family for 4 generations. And it is a relentless machine.
Oh, it really is.
You wake before light, you walk to the gray outbuildings, you tend what needs tending, and, well, you kill what needs killing.
Right.
And the family brands this an honest living. But they intentionally never look at what that honesty costs them psychologically.
They avoid it at all costs.
But Wren, she's wired differently. Even at 7 years old, she has this hyper-awareness. Like, she pays close attention to the barn on the mornings the transport truck arrives to take the animals away.
Yeah, she notices what the text calls the held quiet.
Yes, that phrase.
The narrative makes a really crucial distinction there. It's not a peaceful silence. It's literally a room full of people holding their breath.
Just desperately trying not to be seen by their own consciences.
Exactly.
And it manifests physically too, right? Like, her father's hands are faintly unsteady for an hour after the truck leaves.
Yeah, the shaking hands.
But he always blames it on the cold.
Oh.
Even in the dead of summer, it's just the cold.
Because admitting why his hands are shaking would, it would crack the entire foundation of their lives.
Right. So to maintain that denial, the farm has one absolute rule. You never name the animals. You just don't name what you intend to lose.
Which is such a classic distancing technique. I mean, in psychological terms, it's a necessary mechanism to maintain cognitive dissonance.
Right, because if you don't name an entity, it just remains a commodity.
Exactly. The moment you give it a name, you're acknowledging its individuality, its intrinsic value. And that makes it vastly more difficult to treat it as disposable without, basically destroying your own psyche in the process.
That makes me think of the language we use in corporate environments so much.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, large systems use anonymity and jargon to make really harsh realities palatable for the people who actually have to enforce them.
Yeah, to soften the blow.
Right. We don't say, hey, we're firing hundreds of people who rely on us for healthcare. We say we're restructuring or, optimizing headcount.
It scrubs the humanity right out of the action.
Exactly. So the managers can still sleep at night. I mean, does acknowledging a name fundamentally change our psychological ability to do harm?
I think it absolutely does. Naming forces witnessing. The farm's refusal to name the animals operates on the exact same frequency as that corporate jargon.
Right.
It's not just a quirky family tradition. It is structural armor that Hush Wren notices in the barn that is heavily repressed stress.
Yeah.
It's the physical toll of just overriding your innate empathy day after day, generation after generation.
Which is why Wren's quiet rebellion is just so fascinating. Because at 7, she finds this loose floorboard in her bedroom, hides a paper book underneath it, and secretly writes down the names she gives them.
Yeah, like the hen with the crooked foot.
Or the spotted calf that leaned its weight into your hip like a dog. She doesn't even view this as some grand resistance movement.
Yeah.
She just considers it manners.
And because she is practicing those manners, because she essentially refuses to put on the family's psychological armor, she is left entirely exposed to the reality of the farm.
Oh, totally.
When you start acknowledging the small harms, it's like the seal is broken on everything else the family is hiding.
It really is an avalanche of noticing. Because by the time she's 13, she's trying to diagnose this heavy atmosphere in her house.
Yeah.
And she borrows the word karma to describe it, not as some, cosmic scale of justice, but as a physical weight, like momentum.
Right, fear that gets folded into the meat.
Yes, folded into the meat and then served right at the dinner table, lodging itself into the family's DNA.
She's instinctively mapping out the mechanics of systemic trauma there. I mean, she sees her grandfather's early death, which the family always just swept under the rug as a bad heart.
Right.
She sees her father's drinking, which is strictly never referred to as drinking.
Of course not.
And she sees her older brother's explosive temper, which is endlessly excused as him just being an Aldern man.
Right, boys will be boys, that kind of thing.
Exactly. And Wren realizes the transport truck, the shaking hands, the family's deep misery, they're all connected by the exact same invisible thread.
And naturally, she thinks her family will want to know she's figured this all out.
Oh, the innocence of that, right.
Yeah, so she brings it up to her mother while being tucked in, saying something like, I think something's wrong with us because of what we do to them.
And her mother just laughs it off.
Yeah, calls her sensitive, says she'll need a thicker skin, and then she tries her dad out in the barn.
That scene is so tense.
So tense. He just freezes, actively decides not to explode, and mutters, we don't talk that way about the land that feeds you.
The system immediately senses a threat, and attempts low-level containment. Just dismissal and subtle intimidation.
But she keeps pushing.
Yeah.
I mean, at 16, she finally forces a confrontation. She lays out this fully rehearsed case right at the dinner table.
Yeah, the early deaths, the drinking, the unspoken tension, all of it.
And this time, the containment strategy really escalates. Her father goes totally quiet and just says the word doctor. And her aunt chimes in with, we just want you to be happy.
Such a chilling line in context.
It is. Because Wren realizes instantly that we want you to be happy is actually code for we need you to stop talking.
It's perhaps the most insidious moment in the entire narrative, honestly. They shift from mockery directly to pathologization.
I really struggled with this on my first read. I did. Because when a family suggests taking a teenager to a doctor because they seem distressed, we're so conditioned to see that as an act of love.
Sure, normally it is.
Right, so why is it so dark here? Like, why do they switch from mockery to medical worry? Isn't worry supposed to be caring?
It's dark because of the underlying motive. I mean, by medicalizing Wren's truth, by dragging her to tired doctors who just, check boxes on a clipboard and ask if she's hearing voices to the family, is neutralizing the threat she poses to their worldview.
Oh, wow.
If Wren is diagnosed as sick, if her empathy is reframed as a symptom of a mental health disorder, then her critiques of the farm are completely invalid.
Right, because they don't have to look at the father's alcoholism or the,
Right.
the ethical rot of their
Yeah,
livelihood.
exactly, because suddenly the problem isn't the farm anymore.
The problem is Wren's brain.
It's weaponized concern. It's just gaslighting, dressed up as maternal and paternal care.
That is terrifying.
And honestly, if you're listening to this and you've ever pointed out a glaring toxic issue in your workplace, only to have HR pull you aside and ask if you're feeling overwhelmed,
Oh, man. Yeah.
or suggest you take some time off for your mental health. I mean, you have experienced this. They are treating your clarity as a sickness so they don't have to actually cure the disease.
And the worst part is, it almost works. By 19, Wren is fundamentally broken by this gaslighting. She wakes up and genuinely doubts her own sanity.
Yeah, it wears her down completely.
She can't sleep. She stops writing names in the hidden book. The system actually makes her believe that her empathy is a sickness. So she surrenders.
She does.
She tells her father she isn't on about all that anymore, effectively just buying her day-to-day freedom with silence.
That surrender is the true rock bottom for her. I mean, the exhaustion of fighting a reality distortion field, it just hollows you out entirely.
But then, right after that, comes the turning point. A few months into this silence, she's wandering past a tree line she's walked past 100 times, and she discovers this massive, hidden field of red poppies.
The visual contrast the author creates there is just striking.
It really is.
The Aldern farm is gray, it's rigid, it's deeply transactional, and then the poppy field is vibrant, dense, wild, and just utterly indifferent to human commerce.
Yeah, and she lies down on the dirt, and the ground takes her weight in a way her family never could.
Beautifully put.
And she breaks down. For the first time in her life, she feels completely received.
Right.
All the grief she's been carrying for the crooked foot hen, the spotted calf, the unnamed cats she feels witnessed by the earth, and it witnesses her back without demanding anything from her.
Which is where the concept of going fallow really enters the picture.
Right. Explain that a bit more.
So in agriculture, leaving a field fallow is an intentional act of zero productivity.
Just doing nothing.
Exactly. You leave the soil bare so it can recover its strength and replenish its nutrients before you ask it to grow anything again.
Hmm.
And applied psychologically, it's a really radical concept. We live in systems that demand constant output, constant fighting, constant engagement.
Positively proving your point.
Right.
Yep.
And Ren realizes lying there that she is entirely depleted.
You know, it actually reminds me of booting a computer in safe mode.
Oh, that's a great analogy.
Like when the whole system is crashing and frozen, you hold down the power button and you bring it back up with no third-party apps, no external demands, no background programs.
Right, right.
You strip away all the arguments and expectations just to get the core operating system to function without crashing. Ren initiates a psychological safe mode.
I love that. And in that safe mode, she achieves this profound maturity. Lying in the poppies, she makes a silent vow to herself.
Yeah.
She decides she is never again going to try to make anyone see what she sees. She is simply going to live like she sees it.
There's that line, some rooms will never give you what you go in there looking for, and the sooner you stop going in, the sooner your hands are free for something else.
Yes.
Once she stops spending all her energy trying to, pry her family's eyes open,
Yeah.
she finally has the energy to build a new life.
Exactly.
And the contrast between the life she builds and the legacy her brother inherits is just stark.
Well, the narrative provides both biological and psychological proof that her philosophy actually works.
Right, because Ren stops eating family food. She builds her own small holding next door and literally adopts the farm's quote-unquote worthless animals.
Yeah, the ones the farm would just discard.
She takes 3 hens way past laying age and builds them a coop where they just get to die of old age in the sun.
Which is unheard of on the Aldern farm.
Totally. Her father visits, looks at it, and mutters, "Waste of feed." But Ren doesn't take the bait. She doesn't argue with him.
No, she just lets it be.
She takes in an old dog, a goat with a bad leg. She digs a pond that fills naturally with frogs, and she sells her eggs honestly.
And meanwhile, her brother takes over the Aldern farm.
Right.
And he runs it precisely as his father did. The unnamed drinking passes seamlessly to him.
Of course.
And the tragedy is so visible in his children, who walk around with these permanently tight shoulders, flinching before they've even lived long enough to earn that kind of tension.
The harm just continues, completely uninterrupted.
But the text gets really granular here, which I love. It literally compares the soil of the 2 farms under a microscope.
Oh, this part blew my mind.
This is where it all clicks together. So under a microscope, Ren's 30-year soil is incredibly dense. It's full of these fine underground root networks. It's an ancient economy of reciprocity, treating sugar for minerals. But her brother's soil is entirely thinned out.
Right.
It's just decades of the same crops pulling the exact same nutrients out, with absolutely nothing given back.
So the biological truth mirrors the emotional truth.
Exactly. Systems that only extract eventually collapse.
Which brings up a really massive question for me about boundaries.
Okay, what's that?
Well, Ren never preaches to her brother, right? Not even when she has literal scientific proof in the dirt under his boots that his way of life is destroying the land and his family.
Right.
And she says nothing. A part of me looks at that and thinks, isn't that just giving up on your family? Like, how is silence the ultimate form of holding a boundary?
It does feel counterintuitive, I know, but it really is the ultimate boundary because Ren understands that debate is a form of engagement that would drain her own soil.
Oh, I see.
Her life is the argument now. You just cannot debate someone into a paradigm shift if their entire identity and livelihood depend on not understanding it.
That is so true.
By stepping back and tending to her own ecosystem, she breaks the friction. Her life requires tending, not arguing.
And by quietly tending her own soil, she unintentionally creates an alternative reality right next door.
Yeah.
Which actually becomes a safe haven for the next generation.
It does.
Because in her old age, Ren develops this incredibly quiet ritual to settle the ledger.
I love this scene.
It's so beautiful.
Yeah.
Every autumn, around the time the transport truck used to come to the family farm, she goes to the edge of her food forest.
Right.
She takes out that fat, water-stained book of names she wrote as a child, and she just reads them out loud to the frogs in the air.
Because unspoken grief needs a physical location. If you don't release it into the air, it goes looking for a body to inhabit.
Wow.
That's exactly how it ends up in a father's shaking hands or a brother's temper. Speaking those names out loud is her stubborn refusal to carry the family's debt in her own shoulders.
And the ripple effects of this are just incredible,
Mm.
because her 13-year-old niece starts riding her bike over to Ren's smallholding.
And Ren doesn't sit her down and lecture her about toxic family karma either.
No, she just answers the kids' questions about the goat and the frogs. She
Yeah.
shows her that it's possible to live a different way without actively hating the people across the fence.
Right.
And that niece actually grows up to study soil science.
It's amazing. The niece is able to break the cycle not through violent rebellion, but just through curiosity.
Yeah.
The proximity to a healthy system does what years of arguing at a dinner table never, ever could.
It's so powerful.
Yeah.
And Wren dies old in her own bed, surrounded by old animals. It is this peaceful, hard-earned harvest.
It really is.
But I have to bring up the one detail at the very end that really threw me.
Oh, okay.
She never tells anyone where that hidden poppy field is.
Right.
Not even the niece. She takes the location of this profoundly healing place to her grave. I don't get it. Hoarding the cure feels almost inherently selfish to me. I keep it a secret.
I mean, it does feel harsh on the surface, but look at the mechanics of how Ren found it in the first place. She keeps it secret because she knows that readiness cannot be handed down like a family heirloom. You simply can't hack the healing process for someone else.
You can't force another person into safe mode.
Precisely. A ledger only gets settled one set of hands at a time. True paradigm-shifting realization usually only comes when a person hits their own absolute rock bottom.
Right.
When they have exhausted every other defense mechanism and have literally no choice but to surrender, just like Ren did at 19. If she just handed her niece a map to the field, it would turn the poppy field into just another family expectation.
Ah, I see. They have to find their own unraveling.
Exactly. Everyone has to find their own field only when they run out of every other option.
Wow. Which really brings this entirely back to you listening right now. Ren beat a deeply entrenched toxic system, not by fighting it, but by refusing to play its game. She stepped out of it, she went fallow, trusted her own noticing, and built a healthier, reciprocal ecosystem next door.
It's a huge shift in perspective.
So the challenge for you today is to look closely at the soil of your own habits, your workplace, or your family traditions. Are you caught in a cycle of constant extraction without giving back?
Right, and if you're constantly fighting to be heard, you have to ask yourself what you could build with the energy you'd save by simply walking out of the room.
Exactly. What are the unnamed things in your life that you need to finally write down and say out loud, just so you can stop carrying them in your shoulders? We started by saying some inheritances are debts, and maybe it's time you refuse to inherit yours.
Yeah.
But I want to leave you with one final, slightly uncomfortable thought to chew on. Something that wasn't explicitly said but lingers right at the edge of this whole story.
Okay.
If you do finally put down that invisible baggage, if you walk away from the toxicity and choose to go fallow, nature abhors a vacuum.
Oh, wow.
Someone else is going to step in to carry that weight. Someone else is going to inherit the tension you left behind. Are you willing to let them take the fall so you can finally be free?
That is a terrifying, brilliant question.
It's something to think about. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We'll see you next time.